Take two. Bow wow wow, yippee yo yippee yay. The Wrestling Exchange is here to stay. My name is Ted. I am your host for the Wrestling Exchange. Gotta apologize. The past couple of weeks have been crazy. All sorts of nutty things going on here in parts unknown. So forgive me. I'm sorry. Deal with it. But before we get any further, stress. I'd like to go ahead and introduce my tag team partner. He is the singing Samoan in one half of this tag team. He is.
This is Papo. Welcome back, everybody. Had a little rough patches, ironed them out. Now I'm about to bring to you an awesome show. Tedski, go ahead and kick it with the disclaimers for our peoples.
Actually, no, give me 10 seconds. I realize there's some noise coming out of here, my fan. 1 second. Sorry. I'm a terrible host.
Yeah, I'm going to trade him over to the Timberwolves. For those who don't know, that's a basketball team.
What's that? What happened?
I told everybody that I'm going to trade you over to the Timberwolves.
Oh, I hear they're a terrible basketball team. Okay. This is the Wrestling Exchange. Basically what happens here is we talk about Raw each and every week. We talk about the storylines. We talk about the matches. All sorts of shit. We talk about the good, the bad, and the fugly, which is our favorite segment, honestly, but that comes at the end of the show. So stay tuned. That's a thing. Also, it's a passionate discussion amongst wrestling fans. So bad language, 4 little words, these things that are happening, these are things that are happening, and if you're not down with that, my man's got 2 words for you.
Super facial.
Boom. Papa, we also have to discuss with these people that it is a mature conversation, so that's a thing as well. So there might be a few innuendos here and there. Also, like, comment, subscribe, go to the Facebook page, tweet us at Ted and Papo on Twitter, send us emails at tedandpapo@gmail.com, and you know what? I thought about it, and I was like, man, that's a lot of information to disperse, but you know what I did, Papo?
What did you do?
I put that shit in the description box. So all you gotta do is clickety-clackety, bada-bing, bada-bang, bada-boom, motherfuckers, done. Is there anything else we have to plug before we get started?
My man did all the work. Follow through. Let's get balls deep in today's show.
Motherfucking balls deep. Oh, man, I can't wait to do this. Okay, so Brock Lesnar has returned. He returned last week, but we're just going to, again, focus on this week with a couple of throwbacks to last week's episode. We basically get an in-ring promo with Brock and Paul Lesnar. Papo, tell us about this program.
Okay, so we get to start off, and Brock Lesnar comes out with Paul Heyman, and let me tell you, it was the pop of the night. I wouldn't say the segment of the night, but it was definitely a high pop. Now, the terms of his return from his suspension was he had to apologize to Michael Cole. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think that was even remotely an apology?
No, but I loved it because Paul Heyman's talking about apologizing to Michael Cole, and the crowd starts to shit on it, and Paul Heyman actually has to remind the people, like, hey, if he doesn't apologize, you won't get to see him at Battleground, and the crowd's like, oh yeah, please do. Dude walks over to Michael Cole and scares the fuck out of him. Ultimately ends up with a noogie, and he's like, yeah, man, sorry.
Are we cool? Are we cool?
Yeah, real fucking sincere. I loved it. And basically, following that, is that basically what we get Paul Heyman doing what he does best, which is basically talking people into the building, essentially. Basically telling us why we should care, and that basically we should care because, and he makes it topical right here, is because that not only is Brock apologizing for what he did to Michael Cole, but now Heyman is apologizing for Brock because that's not something that Brock usually does about what he's going to do to Seth Rollins. At Battleground. So if you're not familiar, basically Battleground's the next pay-per-view, and that's where they're going to have the match. And in fact, the story that unfolds throughout this Raw has everything to do with that. Now, Papo, speaking of the story that unfolds having to do with that, a lot of it has to do with certain members of the Authority. And the next segment we get Kane versus Dean Ambrose, Kane being a member of the Authority. Tell me what you thought about the Kane versus Dean Ambrose match.
Honestly, again, I've used this term lackluster. I mean, they've had prior matches which showed them put on a complete clinic, but this match, I mean, it just like, and Words poo poo.
Yeah, this was terrible. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Poo
Uh,
poo.
Not good. Not good. Is it safe to say that they just don't work well together? Right? Like, those guys are good individually on their own, but just together they just don't have chemistry.
Well, we've had matches before, and they actually put on a really good match. It's just this one, it just didn't. They didn't jive, if you will.
Well, I don't even remember them having good. Well, maybe that's just me blocking shit out of my head. I'll tell you what, though. The end of the match, we get a distraction finish. Seth Rollins' music hits. He comes out and attempts to distract Dean Ambrose, and eventually Ambrose actually loses with a chokeslam from the top rope. This is basically built up as Rollins' attempt to further his cause, which we'll talk about shortly, in basically kind of reunite the Authority because he's scared shitless of Brock Lesnar. He knows he can't do it on his own. This is also followed by. Do you want to talk about this backstage segment between Rollins and Kane, basically trying to bury the hatchet, or do you want to go straight to Primetime Players in the Ascension?
Let's go to Primetime Players in the Ascension.
Question: was this match worth watching?
Yes and no. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either.
Can I give you a reason why I think it wasn't good, and maybe something that they could improve on?
Please do.
You ever notice with the most successful good guy tag teams, there's usually like one guy who gets his ass kicked and the other guy who comes in and starts kicking ass? Basically, one guy does. If you make the comparison to the Midnight Rockers, or excuse me, the Rock and Roll Express. Thank you, Rock and Roll Express. You had Bobby. God damn it! Today is not my day, folks. But basically, you had Ricky Morton and the other guy. And basically, Ricky Morton would always take the heat. He'd always get his ass kicked, and he'd tag fucking him.
His tag team partner.
He'd tag his tag team partner, and he would come in and kick ass. The last time I remember seeing the Primetime Players in a tag team match recently, Darren Young took all the heat, got his ass kicked, and then Titus O'Neil came in and did the ass kicking. This time it was the other way around, right? Titus O'Neil gets his ass kicked, and Darren Young has to come in and make the save. I don't know about you, but I don't see that as believable. It just doesn't make sense. Like, there should be a designated one guy gets his ass kicked, and one guy comes in. Robert Gibson, that's his name. Sorry, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Swimmy, Swami, Samsonite. But yeah, no. Do you think that one of them should be, like, for example, Darren Young should be the guy that gets his ass kicked, and Titus should be the guy that does the ass kicking? Like, if that happened, do you think it would be more watchable or more believable?
Watching it would be more believable with your formula, but with today's new formula, I mean, it's feasible that the smaller guy can get over on a bigger opponent, like the Ascension, especially them still being green and new to the WWE roster. I mean, it's only feasible that Darren Young could actually beat either one of them in a singles match.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think that's a stretch. But in the end, you know what? I got to be honest, I was so not into this match that I don't know how the finish went down. The Primetime Players did win, right?
Primetime Players did win. Darren Young got a move where he threw the guy up and then landed on his back and put his knees up, and the dude landed on his knees.
That was the finish?
Kind of like a code breaker, but instead of grabbing his head down, he actually threw him up and landed on his knees. It was amazing. It was pretty cool. I liked it.
I must have really not been into that, obviously, because I don't even have what happens here. Let's talk about what I think is the best match of the night, which is the one that follows this one, Sheamus versus Roman Reigns. Papa, what do you think about this?
This match here was actually one of my favorites of the night also. I mean, they went at it. I mean, Sheamus countered the dropkick on the outside of the ring. I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah, and they even... I'm sorry, go ahead.
These two, Sheamus being a brawler, and then we have Super Uso being a third-generation wrestler?
I'm going to say second. right? Because he's Alpha's son, or see, he's the son of one of the Wild Samoans, but I don't think their father was a wrestler, so far as I know. We'll say second.
We'll say second generation wrestler, so he knows his way around the ring. And Sheamus being a brawler, I mean, these two will put on an awesome match tonight. This actually saved my interest in Raw.
Did you notice, or maybe it's just me, that it started off kind of slow and then built up to something that was very dramatic?
For real. I mean, the plot started off slow, and as it climaxed, climax, the storyline ensued with Bray Wyatt on the Titantron. I know you love this part, so I'm gonna let you run with this one.
Hold on, I'm having like mic issues. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Sorry, I was having some sort of mic issues. Yeah, man, I fucking dig the shit out of that Bray Wyatt spot, right? So basically, the idea here is that Bray Wyatt is being super fucking creepy, and I think it was mentioned for the first time either last week or 2 weeks ago that Bray Wyatt kind of did something unique, right? Because the whole deal is that Roman Reigns, the reason why people have apprehension about Roman Reigns is because he's this guy that people believe who's not ready, right? But it's been kind of subtly acknowledged in WWE programming before that Roman has a daughter, right? He's a father. He's not a single father, but he is a father. And they kind of did something to make him personable to the audience, or at least the idea here, I think, is to make it personable to the portion of the audience that is not real, that are not really big fans of Roman, because he's getting pushed down our throats, so we don't like to be told who to like. But here, Bray Wyatt is kind of insinuating that he's going to bring his daughter in. Does this remind you, Papa, I'm curious, of DDP being the stalker to Undertaker's wife?
Yes. A lot of insinuations, a lot of curveballs, just to get under the skin of their opponent. I mean, this was actually, I was sucked in at the end of this match.
So
I was wondering who's in the chair. Who is he talking to? Is it his daughter or is it his wife? What the hell?
Well, let me go ahead and basically break down what happened, and then we'll kind of speculate a little bit, right? Or at least just spitball for a while. So basically what happens is that Bray Wyatt appears in the Tron. I'm going to say near the end of the match, and this was probably, like a 10, 12-minute match?
Just under 10 minutes.
Really, just under? It felt a little bit longer than that. But anyway, yeah, it was very vicious, very brutal, very tough. And Wyatt appears in the Tron, and he's basically insinuating that he's holding Roman Reigns' daughter hostage. He's holding like a little tea party. And the reason why he mentions tea party specifically, he sings the "I'm a little teapot, short and stout," that song, because there was, I don't know.
Father's Day promo,
thank you, where he's having a tea party with his daughter. And wisely they use this, right? So Bray Wyatt is insinuating that he's having a private tea party with Roman Reigns' daughter, which is kind of odd because she's probably like 8 or something. But it's very disturbing, right? And basically Roman leaves in the middle of his match because he's like, he's got my fucking kid, and runs to the back. After Roman leaves, after commercial break, we see Roman is wandering through the back of the arena, right? He's trying to go from room to room to room, and he basically finds the room. And in the room, there is a table, and there's 2 chairs, and they're empty. It's a little mini child-sized rocking chair, and that's empty. And it's like that movie Seven, right? On the wall, it's like a serial killer room. There's like pictures of Roman Reigns, and his eyes and his mouth are cut out, and words like, liar and you can't save her and stuff like that are kind of scrawled on the wall, what looks like either blood or lipstick. And it's really, really bizarre, and you can hear Bray Wyatt, I think he's actually singing the song while Roman is in the room, like over the PA system with the loudspeaker. It's very, very, very bizarre. We're talking about, this is an attempt to basically endear Roman Reigns to a certain portion of the audience, and we're definitely making that comparison to the Diamond Dallas Page and Undertaker angle. Is there any worry that this? Oh, shit! Damn it! I forgot what I was. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Brain fart.
Why don't you tell me what you thought about it, and then I'll probably remember.
Well, again, the room was creepy. I mean, it did have graffiti on the wall, but then you had pictures of Roman Reigns with his eyes and mouth cut out, which again, it reminded me of the movie Seven. Also, I was couldn't remember the name when I first saw it, but thank you for reminding me. But then you do hear Wyatt singing the Teapot song, which again was from a Father's Day promo, and then he just goes into a fit, and that was the end of that segment.
I think I remember what I was gonna say.
Shit.
um, so there's two. If I'm WWE, right? If I'm WWE creative, if I'm a writer, if I'm a part of the booking process, I see that there's an inherent problem with Bray Wyatt. That here's a guy who's really cool, right? He's got cool merchandise, he's got cool music, he's got a really cool entrance, and the fans want to be involved, they want to participate because it's all about crowd participation, right? Um, and in a way that makes him very likable to the crowd, right? Like, this is our guy, right? We like to participate. It's like The Rock. In a really weird and roundabout way, where The Rock would say, "And the millions," and the crowd would jump in, and and The Rock means never, all these things where it's acknowledging the presence of the audience, and it's kind of tipping a hat to them and saying, "Okay, now you get to participate." Bray Wyatt has that, and it's hard to dislike him, right? It makes him naturally likable. I think, and I was wondering what you think, being that you have a guy who's clearly a villain but has such really cool elements about him and his character. The fact that he's going after, or implying that he's going after this guy's little daughter, do you think this is enough to portray him clearly as the villain, or at least get people to galvanize them behind Roman Reigns? Because here's the clear-cut bad guy, and here's the clear-cut good guy just trying to protect his family.
It fits the puzzle perfectly. I mean, Wyatt has always presented himself as that villain, and it's the perfect heel versus babyface in the art of wrestling. So, but I can understand how you feel about Wyatt. I mean, he does. I mean, he's such a badass in the ring and so awesome on the mic. That following is just it's not going to deter because he's a villain or not. So, and nobody sees Roman Reigns as a villain at all. They see him as the quintessential babyface.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't like him, it's only because we don't like him because we're being told to like him, which is
Exactly.
this weird problem that in days past, right, when you had someone and we were told to like him, right, you could go back to the oh man, God damn it, I'm losing my train of thought today. But basically, oh, yeah, we'll use the Rock comparison, right? The Rock comes out, die Rocky die, right? The people don't embrace him, the people don't get behind it. Normally, when something like that happens, and they say, we're not interested, well, then you have to make use of that talent. And so, okay, well, if they're not buying it, we're going to go the other way. I've anticipated a Roman Reigns heel turn. I think that would have worked better, but it seems like they're kind of like, no, this is the guy, right? Because it's the I don't like because when the Rock debuted, right? It was like, hey, you're gonna like this guy because look at him, he's big, he's the blue chipper, he's handsome, he's a good wrestler, but nobody gave a shit, right? And you've kind of got the same thing with Roman Reigns, except Roman Reigns had a much cooler package. He was part of the Shield, but in the end, with the Rock, they decided to go make him a bad guy, but like an interesting bad guy with the nation, and instead they're kind of really sticking to their guns with Reigns. But you're in it with me that you think this is a good way to handle the attempt to say, no, we're throwing everything we got with this guy. He's our guy, and we're gonna give you a reason to not like Bray Wyatt.
Exactly. Which I feel is going to backfire because again, he's an awesome in-ring performer, and he definitely gets on that mic and he rocks it. I'm having audio issues.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Do you want to talk about that backstage segment with J&J Security, or you want to jump right into Neville versus Kofi?
Let's jump into Neville versus Kofi.
All right. Let's talk about this match, right? Because Neville, he's by himself, and Kofi shows up with the New Day.
New Gay?
What did you think about the spot where Kofi's got Neville, and I don't remember if it was like an abdominal stretch or something, but he's got him in a submission hold. And Xavier Woods steals a camera from a photographer and then takes pictures of opposing Kofi and tells the cameraman that that's how he should do his job. What did you think about that?
Well, Xavier Woods definitely, he's right now, I would say, the leader of the New Day. And I'm waiting for him to become color commentary for WWE because he is hilarious. He is quintessentially hilarious.
Is he the closest thing to being a manager in this particular day and age without actually being a manager?
Very close. Very, very close. It's just that he gets into the ring and he has some pretty good moves for a singles wrestler. So, and he just, how should I put it? He knows how to work the mic.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very charismatic. Listen, what do you want to talk about more? The fact that primetime players came out and the ref told them to go away? Or the fact that we got to see Neville's sweet, sweet red arrow, which is not in any way an innuendo about his penis?
Right. I'm not going to tell anybody your secret, but let's talk about the red arrow.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, man, it's fucking amazing. This is a win that Neville needs, right? And it kind of makes sense because Neville has been on not exactly a losing streak, but in a world where it's argued whether or not wins and losses matter, I'll say that they can. They don't necessarily have to, but they can. And in this particular case, they do, right? Neville needs to – there's a perception that he is mid-tier, not quite top tier, but he's like on the cusp of becoming top tier. And you can't have him go out there and lose and lose and lose and lose and lose because you lose enough, and in the perception of the fans' eyes, you're a loser, right? Like, Papa, do you remember Iron Mike Sharp?
No.
All right, do you remember the Brooklyn Brawler?
Yes.
That's like my standard example.
Jabroni?
Yeah. Dude never won a match, right?
Not that I can recall.
You know what? Let's use someone modern day, and forgive me for saying this, but he's a guy I like. What about Woo Woo Woo? You know it. What about Zack Ryder?
Ryder.
He's a jobber. He's in that Jack Swagger category. They don't win matches. And when they routinely don't win matches, you go in there with the mindset that, oh, I don't care because this guy's a loser. Like, there's nothing about this guy. He's not going to win, so why should I care? Why should I invest myself? So you don't want a guy like Neville, who's so great, to kind of have a similar pitfall. So he's got to pick up the win. And it makes sense here because although you would expect Kofi to win because he's part of a very strong heel faction, it's a one-on-one match. It's not a tag match. It's not a six-way. Excuse me. It's not a six-man tag. So he's okay to lose here. What's weird here, and I did want to ask you, and I know you wanted to talk about the finish first. So the primetime players come out to kind of defend Neville, but the referee immediately tells the primetime players to leave, and then I guess realizes he fucked up, and then ejects the rest of New Day. Do you think this was done on purpose, or was this an accident? The refs,
I believe
how the ref reacted.
I believe that this was done on purpose, so Neville could pick up the win.
Do you want to talk? Well, you know what? Is there anything else you wanted to discuss about that or Neville before we go on to a quick recap of last week?
No. Let's go ahead and go on with the recap.
So last week, Kevin Owens powerbombs the shit out of Machine Gun Kelly. And basically earlier in that episode, there was an issue about respect and about a handshake. And he talked about how after his match with John Cena told him he belonged, and he shook his hand, and Kevin Owens was like, fuck that, I already know that, and you're disrespecting me here. that kind of happens, right? Like he comes out to tell MGK, like, "Wow, your performance was awesome," and MGK goes to shake his hand, and Kevin Owens is like, "Nah, fuck that," and he powerbombs him off the
See,
stage through a table. Papa, I had images. I had a flashback of 1996 Bash in the Beach, right, where Nash and Hall come out and they're asked by Eric Bischoff about their third man, and they're like, "Don't worry about it. We've got a third guy. Where's your three guys?" And Eric Bischoff's like, "Well, we don't have three guys yet." And they're like, "What do you mean you don't have three guys around?" And I remember, was it Razor Ramone's like, "You don't jack us around," and punches him in the stomach. And then Diesel, Kevin Nash, powerbombs him off the stage through a table. Uh, was this similar to that in your opinion, or am I just like reliving 1996?
you're reliving 1996 because, I mean, Eric Bischoff had a major influence with the NWO and WCW. Machine Gun Kelly was just a performer, wrong place at the wrong time.
Machine Gun Kelly has performed at WrestleMania. He has a WrestleMania moment.
Why don't I remember this?
You don't remember this? This would have been WrestleMania 28? 20, no, it wasn't 29. I believe it was 28. I'm going to say 28. He performed at WrestleMania 28. It was the one before they did. It was the first Rock Cena match.
Okay.
Because the second one, I think, was P. Diddy performed the second one, right? I don't know. Fuck it. Let's keep going. Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk at all about King Barrett versus Zack Ryder?
Yes. King Barrett beat Zack Ryder with the bullhammer. All right, next segment.
Let's jump right into probably the best segment, the best non-match segment on the card, and it's the John Cena promo. So basically, what happens is John Cena comes out. "I'm proud to be the United States champion." Blah blah. Kevin Owens is an asshole. Blah blah. "I don't have to accept this challenge for my title. Blah blah. I'm gonna fight him. Blah blah. Want some? Come get some. Blah blah. Oh look, Kevin Owens comes out. And he responds, and he basically says that he doesn't care what John Cena and the crowd and other people think about him. He's going to take the U.S. title only because it means so much to Cena. Owens promises to rally the people to Cena because they can boo the evil foreigner all they want. And he does a classic evil foreigner move, which he just goes ahead and starts speaking French. Cena calls Owens a this is a direct quote, a disrespectful suckbag. And then goes on to say in both French and Chinese that he's going to kick his ass and he accepts the challenge, and that ultimately it's not that the fans don't like him because he's foreign, it's because that he's being an asshole. So, Papa, what I'd like to do with you in the next minute or two is kind of break this down. How's it sound?
You forgot one language that he did say it in also. He said it in ghetto sign language.
What was the ghetto sign language?
It is, "I'm gonna kick your ass." And that shit had me laughing.
He did.
Slaps his own ass. Me and my nephew, in which I got to send a shout out before the good, the bad, and the fugly, were laughing.
Yeah, man, that was great. So let's break this down, right? So this is by far one of my most anticipated parts of the show each week, right? It's the John Cena, Kevin Owens back and forth. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want this to end, right? I want this to be like a 6-8 month program because these guys keep having amazing matches, and the story is really, really works well. And it's almost like Kevin's is a version of Punk in the sense of the Punk Cena feud. I'm not saying he's better. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm saying like if you compare the two feuds, there's stuff that Kevin Owens can do that's similar but different, and in some ways a little bit better than the Punk stuff, because Punk, there's an element of like he would be heelish, right? He would do heel things, he would say heel things, but he was still likable. With Kevin Owens, it's very easy for him to be unlikable. Would you say?
Yes and no. I mean, I do see your comparison, and I'm total agreement that one's not better than the other, but there's just something about Owens. I mean, he just, how should I put it? he got under Cena's skin a lot quicker than CM Punk did.
Also, it's kind of like Owens is more like Cena than Punk was. Right, Punk had a little bit of high flying. Punk was a little technical, had a little bit of mixed martial arts style, whereas Owens is like the reverse image evil Cena. He's like Bizarro Cena.
Yeah.
Um, how much longer do you think this can go? Do you think we're just going to go to the rubber match and that's going to be it, or do you think we're going to get a fourth or fifth or sixth match? Like where does this end? And does it ever get to a point where it's beyond good? Like, does it ever get to a point where it just starts to suck?
Yeah. At this time, I wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, I would like this feud to go on for just a bit longer, but and there's so many different aspects that they can go. Like, if John Cena loses the belt to Owens and goes on a heavyweight run, because he does have that belt before. He did take it to Brock Lesnar and got screwed on that. And then if he does win that belt, it could always go back to that same feud with Owen.
So then, here's an interesting question: Should Cena lose his title, or you know what? Forget it. Win title, lose title, doesn't matter. I've noticed, this is my opinion, in the past couple of pay-per-views, is that the prevailing thought amongst fans was a large portion of the fans was get Cena out of the main event. And then, the WWE acquiesced. They're like, okay, well, Cena's no longer in the main event. Now he's like, if we joke about Cena being Goku, right? He's hit Super Saiyan level, right? Like he's gone to a point and then beyond. Now Cena is putting in the best matches he's ever had consistently, not like once every couple of months, like week in, week out. Every match he has is probably the best of the card, and the same thing with the pay-per-views. Should this match be used in a way to put Cena back into the main event? Because I'd be honest, as much as I'm not really a Cena fan per se, I feel like we need him back in the main event because it just feels
It's missing that because, again, he is running through opponents on a weekly basis, defending his belt and showing that he does still deserve to be into that heavyweight bracket.
So then the last question before we move on. How likely do you think it will be, or do you think it would be more advantageous to, whenever they decide to get the NXT title off of Owens, get the U.S. title back to Cena, do you think there's ever a chance where they'll rekindle this feud but over the world title?
It would be awesome. I remember I beat you. Oh, yeah, I remember I beat you. You remember.
I called you a disrespect. You called me a disrespectful suckbag. Last question. I think I said that before, but I really mean it this time. Do you think it was too trite or cliche to go to the evil foreigner gimmick? Because a lot of people probably wouldn't even know that Owens is from Canada. And second part of that question, does Canada count as evil foreigner territory anymore outside of the Mountie and the Rougeaus?
No. 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 No.
No to everything. All right. Which one do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Rollins and the Authority backstage, or do you want to talk about that Divas tag match? Your choice.
Let's talk about the Rollins segment.
All right, so basically what happens here is that Rollins interrupts a conversation between Triple H and Stephanie. Rollins says the Authority is more family than a business thing, and he wants the family back together. Steph suggests that he apologize, and Triple H basically says, yeah, you should fucking apologize for being an asshole. And basically, Triple H says that they only made the match with Lesnar because they think he is able to beat Lesnar. It's kind of what they said last week before introducing Lesnar in that main event segment, which was, when you take a piece of coal and you put it under a lot of pressure, it either just crumbles and becomes dust, or under all that pressure becomes a diamond. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that way Rollins becomes the Diamond, that he becomes the perfect version that they expect him to be, right? That he's like right there, right on the precipice, but he's not there completely. Um, and then basically Triple H says that he should consider having a foolproof plan B and tells Rollins just go out there, be the bigger man, and put the band back together. Do you think it's intentional that they're using language that Shawn Michaels and Triple H talked about when they were bringing DX back together?
It, it follows the legacy of DX. We're going to the next generation, and the future of the WWE can only be can only be a part of the foundation that the DX laid down for them.
Divas tag match then. Naomi and Tamina with Paige versus Bella Twins with Alicia Fox. This was stupid and awful. I have my own feelings on this. Do you want to tell me what you thought, and then I'll say my words, and then we'll keep moving?
uh, no,
All right, so I'll just say my words. How's that?
go ahead.
We'll start quickly with the fact that surprise Nikki Bella wins with a rack attack, and it happens after Naomi accidentally hits Tamina with the rear view, which is the butt bump. Um, so this is stupid and awful on a whole nother level because there's no clear delineation of who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, right? Like in any work of fiction, whether it's television, movie, literature, whatever, video games, there's a good guy and there's a bad guy. And you and I have discussed this before, where everybody wants nothing but shades of gray, which doesn't really work, right? You need a good guy and a bad guy, right? Like it's when everything's shades of gray, nothing really matters, right? There's no one to really get behind because everybody's kind of questionable. Uh, who's the good guy in this feud? Because Naomi and Tamina are bad guys, but yet they're teaming with Paige, who's a good guy. Doesn't that taint Paige's position as a good guy?
It would. That's it.
Okay. I was sensing something else there. And yeah, the Bella Twins, although they're improving and they are better than they've ever been, I'm still kind of annoyed that there was no, hey, they're bad guys again, and here's a reason why, and they were just like, yeah, no, we're just going to be evil cunts again. I don't know. I don't like it, and it's awful. Also, too, the storyline here is pretty terrible, and I'll move on quickly in a minute. But it's basically that Paige is campaigning for the women to stand up for themselves, right? Is that the Bella Twins are the man, and they're holding everybody down. This doesn't even work in kayfabe, because even in kayfabe we know that they are in Total Divas, right? They have their own television show, so it's not like it's not like this is talking about women's suffrage, right? Where they don't have the right to vote or drive cars or anything. It's really dumb. It's really dumb, and it's awful, and yeah, terrible. Do you have anything else to add, or can we talk about Mark Henry versus Ryback?
On that note, let's talk about Mark Henry versus Ryback, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, let's do this. So this match was a lot better than it had any right to be. First, Papo, tell me your thoughts on Big Show on commentary. I know we've seen him on there before in the past 6 months, but what did you think? And
Well,
would you like to see him as a permanent fixture?
he wasn't too bad on commentary. I mean, honestly, it's time. I wouldn't mind him being a permanent fixture on commentary. Probably don't fit though.
Can we replace him with? Can we replace JBL with him, and he can just be the resident guy who just always sides with the bad guys no matter what?
I'm definitely down for that.
Very good.
I mean,
All right.
got my vote.
So there's something that happens in this match, which you and I haven't seen in a while, and it's one of my favorite. I'm going to say it's a wrestling trope. It's the dropping of the straps when somebody wears a singlet. Like Jerry Lawler was famous for it. He dropped the strap because he only had like one, and he would start throwing his punches. There's a few other guys that have done it over the years. Probably another really good example of that is Kurt Angle, right? Kurt Angle would always drop the strap when he would go for his finish, or at least the setup for his finish. Did you get any rush of energy, or like how did you take it when he dropped the straps? Does it work for you? Does it not work for you?
It works for me. It's like a a, a nail on the coffin knowing that the match is about to be over. When they dropped the straps, the first thing that goes through my mind was, oh shit, it got serious.
Yeah, it's like a visible sign that we're going into like if I'm it's me, not me personally, but the wrestler indicating to the audience, hey, this shit's about to be down, I'm about to do my thing. It's like the obligatory comeback spot, although it's better, right? Or like the finishing sequence where like Cena does the two shoulder tackles, then that kind of like side spin out powerbomb silly thingy, then the five knuckle shuffle, then the attitude adjustment. It's like doing all of that without doing all of that. It's Ryback drops the straps, goes for the meat hook clothesline, which is his setup move, and then his finish move. I loved it. Should he keep this?
He should keep this. And I was going to give you a perfect analogy.
Do it.
If you ever seen a street fight where a guy takes his shirt off, you know it's going to get serious.
So then, a quick question before we move on and talk about the finish and everything else. Should everyone that wears a singlet have the option to drop the straps, or should it be only limited to certain guys?
Only limited to certain guys.
Okay, I can dig that. I'm with you on that. Although, yeah. Let's talk about the Ryback and the fucking frog splash from the top of the rope, for the top rope. Papa, take it away. Tell me what you thought about this move, whether you thought it was silly, the fact that it was used as a finish. Can this be a viable finish in the future? Tell me everything. And is it ridiculous that the big guy is doing a frog splash?
Honestly, he doesn't need a frog splash. He is too big to be doing the frog splash. He needs to eliminate the frog splash from his arsenal. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
You didn't like it? I have a different opinion. Do you mind if I disagree with you here?
Go ahead and disagree, but I honestly, it looked so funny to me. It reminded me of Kong climbing up the Empire State Building and just falling.
It's silly looking. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like the John Cena Frankensteiner, right? Like, by all intents and purposes, for all intents and purposes, that is something that should never happen, right?
Exactly.
But here's what I think about it, right? When you talk about a finishing move, right? Like, say you were going to be a professional wrestler, and it was like, okay, kid, what's your finish? You want to be able to have a move that you can put on practically anybody. And although Ryback is strong enough, in theory, or at least we've seen him do it to Mark Henry at WrestleMania 28, I think. He was 28 or 29. We've seen him hit Henry with a shell shock, and we've seen him hit Big Show with kind of like a modified version of that. But the reason why I like this is because it allows him to do it to people who in the future maybe he'll not be able to get them up, but also it kind of adds another layer, right? So if you only win with one move, right, when that move happens, okay, it's over in the minds of the fans. But if you incorporate two or three other moves, right, and then you win with them occasionally, you don't have to win with them all the time, but if the general public has seen you win with them once or twice before, then there's that added layer of suspension of disbelief, because it's like, oh shit, he busted out the Frankensteiner. Like, he's busted out with the Frog Splash. He's won matches with this. It's not his go-to finish, but if he's put into a situation where he's pulled out all the stops and nothing's worked, we know that he can win matches depending with that move. That's at least how I feel about it. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's never a bad thing to win with a move that is not your finish, because then just more levels of suspension of disbelief. It gives me more to work with. After the match, Big Show chastises Henry in the ring for loses, and Big Show pouts as he leaves. Do you think this was kind of unnecessary? Because it was just like, hey, Mark, you should have won. We were friends, and then we weren't friends, and then we were friends again. Like, I expected a KO punch. I expected something. This just seemed kind of fucking stupid and lame.
Girly like even. I'm having audio issues. I see the lips moving, but I don't hear anything.
How about now?
Gotcha.
All right. After the match, though, I wanted to briefly talk about this before we go into the next match. JoJo interviews Ryback backstage about his upcoming title match, which is going to be a three-way against Miz and The Big Show. It's nice to see JoJo. She was on the first season of Total Divas. She ended up being a ring announcer for NXT, and it's nice to see her on the main show. Ryback, the big guy, makes a joke about calling himself Flyback. How awesome is Ryback on the mic? Just saying the dumbest but funniest shit.
I mean, he plays the musclehead really well, and the whole Flyback comment was hilarious. I'll give him that one. That was actually pretty good.
So the whole segment kind of falls out of control. Big Show shows up, and the two fight, and ultimately Ryback comes out on top. Then we have Adam Rose versus Dolph Ziggler. Since we're right around the corner from the main event segment, what I want to do is I just want to mention a couple of quick things before we move on. Is that cool?
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've stuck with us to this part, thank you. I started off a little stressed. I wasn't as loose as I am currently, so things have been kind of difficult. But listen, we appreciate it. I want to thank you. It means a lot that you're here. And if you could just, kind of return the favor by clicking that like button. It really, really, really helps. I can't stress that enough. Go ahead and comment, right? Like, comment, subscribe. You'll get your emails letting you know, hey, these cute guys that we are, right, Papo?
Bam!
These guys did a video, and they're handsome, and you should watch it. And you should also go to the Facebook page and maybe ask us questions. Maybe email us, and maybe send us things on Twitter. And, oh, shit, you know what? I did all that. I put that in the description box below. You should do that. It would really mean a lot, and you can send your questions to the email address. I know I just mentioned that before, but I wanted to stress this here because if you have something you want us to talk about, questions that you want us to answer, or just random shit, go ahead and send it to us. Why not? tedandpapo@gmail.com. Now, Papo, are you ready for Adam Rose versus Dolph Ziggler, which is technically the main event match of the night?
If we must, we must.
Does it surprise you that Adam Rose is in the main event?
Yeah. I was like, what is he doing?
Don't be a lemon, okay? So
Be a rosebud.
Be a rosebud. So it's Adam Rose accompanied by Rosa Mendez versus Dolph Ziggler with Lana. There's a pre-match promo where Adam Rose basically takes jabs at the people for not understanding art, for not understanding passion or true love, as the married man makes out with the former girlfriend of Michael P.S. Hayes. I can tell you I didn't really dig this because if you've seen that ESPN special, right? Clearly this guy is a family man, and he's just more likable as the person than he is the character. And I just feel like they really don't give a shit about mainstream exposure. And maybe there's a plan, maybe there's a long-term plan that I'm not seeing here, but I don't know. I just don't dig it. So what happens is they have a match, and how would you rate this match, Papo?
Give me some parameters, please.
Okay, let's do this. Did Adam Rose exceed your original expectations of him? Did he outperform what you expected?
No, not really.
Wow. Okay. What did you think about Rusev watching in the back?
That actually held my attention more than the match.
Okay, so then let's get to that then, because that's the main thing. So basically, there's a spot where, let's see, the end of the match comes when Dolph counters a flying axe handle from the top rope with a super kick for the win. Presumably, I believe this is the first time he's actually won a match with a super kick. Do you think that's a fair thing to say, or at least the first time on Raw?
It's a fair thing to say.
So it's the second win with a non-finish of the night. Again, I really dig this. It's always good because now you know that he can win with that super kick. So it's another added level of suspension of disbelief. Now, basically after the match, Lana and Ziggler just make out like fucking gross people. It looks like he's shoving his tongue down her throat, and she likes it. Rusev explodes, right? He's just not fucking having it. And he's just all sorts of mad and Bulgarian and angry until Summer Rae enters, and we're kind of led to believe that she may be Lana's replacement for Rusev in the future. So, Couple of questions. Number one, how does this fall in line with hashtag Give Divas a Chance when it just seems like these three women only exist to be valets and not actual performers? Does it devalue them as characters?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. That's how I feel about that. Like, I feel like it's just impossible to write a positive female character because the Bellas and Paige, those are the ones in the main event. All their actions are motivated because bitches be crazy. And,
hashtag bitches be crazy.
dude, we need to make that a hashtag, bitch. Hashtag. Hashtag.
Oh my God. Hashtag bitches be crazy.
Hashtag WWE bitches be crazy. Let's get that trending. Yeah, no, it was terrible. They're not writing strong female characters, and that's sad for a man to have a problem with that. At the very least, does this give Rusev something interesting, or at least something for us to ruminate on while he's out on injury, so we don't forget about him?
Yeah, it does. He admitted that he is a broken man, but he knows how to fix it. But then we have Summer Rain coming in, backing him up after he just goes on a handicap rage.
Dude, I cannot wait for Rusev to come back. I want him to no longer be a broken man. He for the longest time, he was like my favorite part of the show. Is there anything else about that do you want to talk about, or do you want to talk about the main event segment?
Let's go ahead and step into the segment.
Okay, so Seth Rollins comes out to the ring, and he asks his Authority team members, his family, Jamie Noble, Joey Mercury, and Kane to come out and accept his apology. Rollins then proceeds to kiss some serious ass, and and he basically goes on to say that it has nothing to do with Brock Lesnar, right? Like, he's not afraid of Brock, and that he's already defeated him once before. Seth apologizes and practically begs all three of them to take him back, and then Brock shows up. So up until this point, when Brock shows up, when you hear that wah, wah, da, 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 what were your thoughts on this whole segment up until that point?
Well, them just talking, it just showed how much of a brown nose Rollins is, and I really didn't. How should I put it? I started to lose interest because they started talking too much, but that Brock Lesnar music was my shot of espresso, if you will.
Oh, and I will. Can we talk about how in WWE, when someone's music hits, there's always a delayed reaction, right? So if John Cena's in a match and someone's music hits, John Cena almost waits like 6-7 seconds to react. It's almost like Seth Rollins has the best facial expression reaction, or best reaction in the face, because whenever you hear that first wah, wah, like the camera is already right there and waiting on Seth's face, and you just see his heart drop, like right in his face. Is it just me, or does he not have the best reaction to Brock's music?
He has had the best reaction to Brock's music. I mean, this is a Southern term. He turned yeller.
Did you say yeller?
Yeller.
Yeller. Well, speaking of turning yeller, he does just that, right? Brock comes out, and his buddies, his family members bail, right? And it just looks like he's going to piss his pants. And Brock comes down to the ring, and JBL says this, and he's like, I've never seen one man stalk 4 men. He's almost like an inhuman shark, right? Like, there's 4 of them in the ring, and Brock's like, I'm going to fuck up all of you. How scary is that?
That is extremely scary. I mean, he is the beast incarnate.
So what happens here, I would imagine that there's a good number of people that had mixed feelings on it. I want to get yours in just a moment. Basically, as soon as the Authority team members leave the ring, Brock goes to attack Rollins. And then Brock starts attacking Rollins, but then he's immediately attacked from behind by Kane and J&J, and basically they kick the shit out of Brock Lesnar. It takes 4 of them to do it, 4 of them and a steel chair and a ring post to do it. And then, suplexes out here and there, and basically the end of the show the end of the show happens when the what was it? The WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins takes a Brock Lesnar who has difficulty standing and hits him with the pedigree, kind of to put an exclamation point on the actual reunion of the Authority. So tell me what you thought. Leaving Brock Lesnar beat in the wake of everything we know about Brock, with his for lack of a better word, pedigree, and everything that he's done up until now, was that a mistake or was that a concerted effort to engender sympathy for him?
It was to obtain that sympathy. It was to put Brock Lesnar into the babyface category because the numbers, nobody likes to see somebody get jumped. I mean, that's just human nature. But then to see him get jumped by four people and almost kick their asses is amazing.
Hello, hello, words.
Gotcha. I can hear
Okay.
you.
Did you like this? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you have a problem with it? What was your takeaway?
It was actually one of the better segments of the evening, and it was actually refreshing to see Brock Lesnar get his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost unnerving at first because you're like, Brock Lesnar's the fucking beast. It's hard to imagine that he would get his ass kicked, but at the same time, you're dealing with Seth Rollins, and the story with him is that he's the brains, right? So if anybody could orchestrate a beatdown of Brock, it probably would be him. And then even the best of them get overwhelmed with the numbers game. At first, I didn't like it, right? Because my immediate reaction was like, this is Brock fucking Lesnar. This is the guy that beat the streak. He shouldn't get beat up by J&J. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Plus, it tells you that they have a lot of faith in Seth Rollins and that there's a big plan going forward. And it's like you said, it's refreshing, right? It's new, it's different, and different isn't always bad. In fact, 9 times out of 10 in wrestling, different is good. That being said, is there anything else you want to discuss about Raw before we get into the good, the bad, and the fugly?
Let's roll into the good, the bad, and the fugly.
Oh man, we gotta get sound effects for that soon. Papo, hit me with your good, bad, and fugly.
Okay, my good was the Roman Reigns Sheamus fight. The whole match had my attention, and it actually reconnected me with Raw that evening. The bad, I'm gonna go with. Hmm, this one was a little tricky, but I'm gonna have to go with the Adam Rose Dolph Ziggler match. I was so like, why am I watching this? And my fugly was the whole Divas match. I was just like so turned off. There were so many missed spots, and I was like, this is fugly. And my nephew, who I'm going to give shout outs to right now, Dr. Matite, Frankie Matite. Shout outs to you for watching Raw with me and the stupid look you had on your face when I said this is fugly.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, man. I mean, usually you and I have different opinions on the good, the bad, and the fugly, but I'm with you for the good and the fugly. So let me give you mine quickly, and then we'll get out of here. The
Go ahead.
good. The good was Reigns versus Sheamus. That could have been, honestly, with the exception of the Bray Wyatt quote-unquote interference, although it really wasn't physical interference, that could have been a pay-per-view material match, just in the fact that how it slowly built on itself, and it was very brutal, very vicious. And then you add in the Bray Wyatt stuff, and it gives you a reason to care. It gives you a reason to give a shit, right? Like you have an emotional investment in this. My bad. This is where you and I are the same. My bad is my primetime players Ascension match, and it's not me bagging on the Ascension or the primetime players so much as that there's a lack of designation of who plays what role. One guy should take the heat, or as it's called, playing Ricky Morton, get his ass kicked, and one guy should be the ass kicker. And I feel like Aaron Young should be the guy to get his ass kicked because he's good at it. Right, and that's not a bad thing, right? Dolph Ziggler has made the better part of his career in the past couple of years mean something because he's really good at getting his ass kicked. and it makes you care. I think he should be the ass kicky, and Titus should come in and be the ass kicker because he's fucking huge and all that shit. My
Yeah.
my fugly is the whole WWE Divas tag match and the whole situation itself. Hashtag WWE bitches be crazy. Yeah, man, it was no good. It was no bueno. It was awful. It was terrible. It was absolutely fugly. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Papo, do you want to go ahead and plug all of the stuff and then we can get out of here?
Okay, so my man has done the work for you. Everything's down below. Keep tuning in and watching. We love you guys. My man had a heartfelt thanks, so please take that into consideration. Like the videos, and that'll definitely get us booming. Do you have anything else for the peoples?
No, man, it's really like the videos. Interact with us. It helps us. I know we didn't give you much the past 2 weeks, but there's been crazy shit going on. You know what? And if you're interested, right? Like if you have a couple bucks and you'd like to throw it our way so we can increase our production value and get something a little bit better, microphones, things like that. You can go ahead on over to our Patreon account. That's patreon.com/Ted and Papa. But you know what? Now that I think about it, you don't even have to remember that shit or write it down because it's in the description box below. That's it. No more. No mas. We're out of here. Adios. Bienvenue. My name is T to the E to the double D. I am fucking out of here, and that is...
Papo, thank you for watching. We out.
Peace. Bitches.